explosions rocked Russian-occupied Crimea overnight as Ukrainian drones targeted critical oil depots and military equipment, sending thick black smoke rising across Hvardivsky and Komsomolsky. Residents reported massive blasts early Wednesday morning, marking the latest strike in a series of calculated attacks aimed at crippling Russia's supply lines. The operation destroyed a Panzer S-2 anti-aircraft system valued at around $20 million, along with 2 radar stations, demonstrating Ukraine's growing precision and reach. As Ukraine intensifies its drone campaign, Russia faces mounting challenges in protecting its military infrastructure and energy networks. With repeated attacks visible even from space, the stakes are higher than ever, and the question looms: how much can Moscow endure before its occupied territories and critical supply lines begin to falter? Overnight on October 29, 2025, Ukraine's Security Service SBU, using drones from the Special Operations Center A, carried out a coordinated assault on Russian-occupied Crimea, hitting 2 major oil depots in Hvardivsky and Komsomolsky. These depots are part of Aton, Crimea's largest fuel network, which operates over 100 refueling complexes across the occupied peninsula. The strike destroyed a Panzer S-2 self-propelled anti-aircraft system, valued at an estimated $20 million, along with 2 radar stations. According to an SBU source, the SBU continues systematic work to destroy air defense systems that cover Crimea and oil depots that supply the enemy with fuel. Residents of Hvardivsky reported powerful explosions around 6:30 a.m., with thick black smoke and flames visible across the settlement. The Hvardivsky depot had already been targeted twice earlier in October, showing Ukraine's persistent focus on crippling Russia's fuel supply chains. But Crimea wasn't the only region hit. Ukrainian drones also struck industrial zones deep inside Russia, targeting oil refineries and petrochemical plants in Stavropol, Ulyanovsk, and Mariel. Stavropol's Budyunovsk industrial zone reportedly included Lukoil's Stavrolan petrochemical plant, one of Russia's largest producers of polyethylene and polypropylene, while Ulyanovsk saw attacks near the NS Oil refinery. Bryansk also faced drone attacks that damaged 9 homes and a Miratorg facility, Russia's largest meat producer. Russia's defense ministry claimed that its air defenses intercepted 100 to 105 drones overnight, with some downed over Crimea and others across Bryansk and Moscow regions. Despite these claims, the repeated strikes highlight gaps in Russia's air defense, especially over critical energy and military infrastructure. This wave of attacks demonstrates Ukraine's strategic precision, combining military and economic targets to strike at Russia's operational backbone, while also showcasing the growing reach of Ukrainian drone capabilities into both occupied territories and Russian heartlands. Ukraine's latest drone strikes are not just a military warning, they're hitting Russia's economy where it hurts most. By targeting oil depots, refineries, and supply lines, Ukraine is directly affecting fuel availability for both military operations and civilian consumption. The repeated strikes on the Hvardivsky and Komsomolsky depots disrupt the Aton network, Crimea's largest fuel operator. These facilities not only supply military forces, but also underpin civilian fuel distribution across the occupied peninsula. An explosion at the Hvardivsky depot was reportedly visible from space, highlighting the scale of destruction. Aton operates over 100 gas stations and multiple oil depots, and the loss of just one facility has ripple effects throughout Crimea's fuel network. Beyond Crimea, Ukrainian drone strikes have hit key Russian refineries, including Lukoil's Stavrolan plant in Stavropol and NS Oil in Ulyanovsk. According to Reuters, repeated attacks on major refineries in August and September, including Surgutneftgaz, Kirishneftyorgsyntes, Volgograd Refinery, and Rosneft Samara, caused unplanned outages that reduced fuel production and restricted exports. These strikes also add pressure on Russia's occupied regions, where fuel shortages can hinder military mobility, affect logistics, and create cascading challenges for civilian infrastructure. By systematically targeting both depots and refineries, Ukraine is weakening the backbone of Russia's energy supply and its war economy, demonstrating that precision strikes can have strategic effects far beyond the battlefield. The economic fallout from Ukraine's strikes is already visible in Russia's energy export numbers. According to Reuters, Russia's seaborne oil product exports fell 17.1% in September, dropping to 7.58 million metric tons compared to August. The decline affected multiple key ports. Baltic ports Primorsk, Vysotsk, St. Petersburg, Ust-Luga fell 15.4%, totaling 4.36 million tons. Black Sea and Azov ports decreased 23.2% to 2.52 million tons. Arctic ports saw a minor increase of 1.8%, totaling 30,200 tons. Far East ports declined 1.5%, down to 661,300 tons. These reductions are directly linked to unplanned refinery outages caused by repeated Ukrainian drone strikes on key facilities, including Surgutneftgaz, Lukoil, Volgograd Refinery, and Rosneft's Samara Group. The resulting disruption has not only curtailed fuel exports, but also forced a shift toward increased crude oil shipments, showing how Ukraine's strikes are reshaping Russia's oil trade strategy. The decline in exports has wider implications for global energy markets. Russia's fuel supply to major buyers like India and China is being constrained, which can create price fluctuations and ripple effects across international markets. For Moscow, this means reduced revenue, less foreign currency inflow, and a direct impact on its ability to finance ongoing military operations in Ukraine. By combining precision military strikes with economic pressure, Ukraine is demonstrating a new form of asymmetric warfare, one that targets both the battlefield and the Kremlin's economic lifelines. The 17% drop in seaborne exports is more than a statistic. It's a tangible indicator of Russia's vulnerability under sustained Ukrainian pressure. As Ukraine's drone strikes chip away at Russia's energy infrastructure, the United States has added another layer of pressure through new sanctions targeting Rosneft and Lukoil, the country's two largest oil producers. These are the first U.S. sanctions since Donald Trump's return to the presidency, and they are designed to disrupt Russia's oil trade and limit revenue streams that fund military operations. The measures give the U.S. sweeping authority to pressure overseas subsidiaries and discourage foreign partners from doing business with the sanctioned firms. In response, Lukoil announced plans to sell international assets, which make up roughly one-third of its operations, including a 75% stake in Iraq's West Kurna 2 oil field and refineries in Bulgaria and Romania. Rosneft's main foreign asset, a 49% stake in India's Nayara Energy, which operates the Vadinar refinery accounting for 8% of India's refining capacity, has not yet been fully addressed, though analysts warn that sanctions could block dividend payments and complicate foreign dealings. The sanctions are set to take effect on November 21, 2025, but their impact is already being felt. Analysts predict India may reduce imports, but is unlikely to completely halt them due to limited alternative payment routes. This adds to the economic pressure on Moscow, alongside Ukraine's ongoing strikes on depots and refineries, creating a dual-front strain on Russia's energy-dependent war effort. In short, the combination of targeted drone strikes and U.S. sanctions represents a strategic tightening of the noose on Russia's energy sector, threatening both military logistics and revenue streams critical for sustaining the war in Ukraine. The combined impact of Ukrainian drone strikes and new U.S. sanctions is reverberating far beyond Crimea and Russia's borders, creating global geopolitical and economic consequences. One of the most immediate effects is seen in India's energy strategy. India, Russia's second-largest crude buyer after China, imported roughly 1.8 million barrels per day in the first half of 2025. Following the U.S. sanctions on Rosneft and Lukoil, India's largest private refiner, Reliance Industries, stated it would adapt refinery operations to meet compliance requirements, while other Indian refiners have paused imports to assess the impact. Analysts expect India may reduce imports of Russian crude under U.S. pressure, but they are unlikely to completely halt purchases due to limited alternative sources and the high cost of diversifying supplies. China, Russia's largest crude importer at around 2 million barrels per day, continues to play a stabilizing role in Moscow's energy strategy. Beijing's demand helps offset some losses from U.S. sanctions and European market pressures. However, reliance on China increases Moscow's economic and strategic dependency, giving Beijing more leverage in negotiations and influencing Russia's foreign policy decisions. The international repercussions extend to global energy markets. With Russia's exports dropping due to strikes and sanctions, other suppliers, including OPEC members, the Middle East, the US, and Latin America, may step in to fill the gap, potentially driving up global oil prices. For countries like India, this means higher costs and complex supply chain adjustments, while Russia faces reduced revenue and heightened financial strain. Ultimately, Ukraine's drone strikes, combined with international sanctions, are not only undermining Moscow's war economy, but also reshaping global energy trade, forcing major buyers like India and China to recalibrate their strategies and highlighting the broader geopolitical stakes of the conflict. Ukraine's drone campaign has extended beyond military and oil infrastructure, disrupting civilian life and critical industrial operations deep inside Russia. Overnight strikes on October 29, 2025, forced 13 airports across Russia and annexed Crimea, including 3 in Moscow, to temporarily halt operations for security inspections. Civil aviation regulators cited the need for safety checks after reports of multiple drones in Russian airspace. The broader implications of these attacks are significant. By hitting civilian-adjacent industrial sites, Ukraine is demonstrating the ability to pressure the Russian economy and logistics chains far from the front lines. Airport closures affect travel, commerce, and regional supply lines, while damage to petrochemical plants disrupts production of essential materials, compounding the economic and military strain. These coordinated operations highlight Ukraine's strategy of combining military precision with economic disruption, creating a multi-layered impact that challenges Russia's ability to maintain both its industrial output and civilian infrastructure under sustained pressure. Ukraine's drone strikes on Crimea and Russian industrial zones are more than isolated attacks. They represent a calculated strategy to weaken Moscow's military and economic backbone. With oil depots and refineries burning, seaborne exports down 17%, U.S. sanctions targeting Rosneft and Lukoil, and global buyers adjusting their imports, Russia faces unprecedented pressure on multiple fronts. As the conflict continues, the combination of precision military strikes, economic disruption, and international sanctions could reshape the trajectory of the war. One thing is clear: Ukraine's strategy is proving that even a smaller nation, with the right tools and planning, can strike at the heart of a much larger adversary. The question now is, how will Moscow respond, and how long can its supply lines and economy endure under such sustained pressure?